You don't own your games anymore.
Or your movies.
And that's a bad thing.
Or your music.
That's right, it's time for a video game preservation episode of Spot On.
Or your TV shows.
Let's talk about it. Here on Spot On, we like to talk about the issues in gaming right now. And I think one of the biggest issues that kind of crops up occasionally, but should be at the front of people's minds a lot more, is that of video game preservation. So Tam, why are we talking about it specifically this week?
We are talking about this week because it's at the tip of everyone's tongue. It's the kind of like major conversation right now. And this week also the Video Game History Foundation released a study that basically said 87% of classic games released in the US are now an endangered species.
I did love that wording.
Yeah,
I'm not
endangered
gonna lie.
is what they
Endangered.
say. But yeah, and that is pretty much because they are entirely out of print at this point. Yeah.
So at the top of this episode, I wanted to say huge shout out to the Video Game History Foundation for all the incredible work they do. Also shout out to Gerard Khalil, aka The Completionist, who brought this to my attention when I was talking to him on Monday. He also made a fantastic video over on his channel. So we're talking about it because as well, it's something that is way more prevalent in the world of our modern media, because at the blink of an eye, the snap of a finger, your media could go away just like that.
Yeah, it's the not even the hidden or it's the thing about digital proliferation of content that we kind of turn a blind eye to. Everything is digital, but it also means that a couple of button presses and a couple of clicks or you know, a server being unplugged, it could be the end of something that you care about, or just even something that you don't care about but has historical value.
Yeah.
Sometimes you need to see the mistakes that were made. Sometimes there's content that might not be amazing, but there's value in knowing that it was there. And these days it's easier to just make things go away than ever before, because we no longer have the physical media. At least back then there were ways to do it, and it became more arduous as we went along, but there was options. These days less so.
Yeah, I was gonna say, looking at, you know, what Disney is doing, what HBO and Warner Brothers are doing, you know, taking whole TV shows, putting it on their streaming services, and then just wiping them. And there are some really heartbreaking tweets you can find of people who have worked on shows, and it's like, oh, well, cool, our show just finished, they've cancelled it, and now they've wiped it from existence.
Yeah.
So that's 2 years of my life gone. We're talking today about video games. Some key takeaways from the study. You should go read it. They've done it in a very digestible way to kind of get the key takeaways, but they've also put up a giant methodology of how they found out, and it's like 40 pages long. But basically, since 2012, museums, libraries, and archivists have been petitioning the US Copyright Office for new exemptions that would make archiving video games much easier.
Yeah.
And then the founding of this study was basically that only 13% of classic games are actually readily available or are still in print, which is better than the availability of pre-World War II audio recordings, but worse than the survival rate of American silent films. So that's where we're currently sitting.
Yeah, and to the other part of it is opposition to this.
Yeah, the ESA.
The ESA. God, just absolutely taking L's left, right, and center. Like, the ESA needs to just take a moment, you know?
So the ESA is basically, the reason why they're getting involved is because they are basically the official lobbying entity for video games when it comes to this kind of stuff. And they have argued successfully over the years that video game companies are doing more than enough in making these video games commercially available, so that archivists and museums and libraries don't need to get involved, because the commercial side of the video games industry is tackling this. So they can say, oh, well, we've put all of these PS2 games on PS Plus, and that's fine. But then, if you think about it, this is also another
such
great...
a shitty argument.
So they actually called this out in the study, because before they wiped the eShop, there was something like 11% of Game Boy games, Game Boy family games were available. They wiped the eShop, and that figure has now gone down to like 5-point-something%.
The other thing is, like, let's say for argument's sake that the video game industry is grabbing a chunk of this stuff and putting it up. They're doing it in a way that is beneficial to themselves and not to the preservation part of it. There's no guarantee that the thing that they're going to put out is going to perform in the same way that the original should. I feel like the people who spend the time and effort figuring those things out and preserving it, they do it with as much thought put into the context around it and how people experienced it then and how they can replicate that experience again. There's a decent chance that when a video game company takes this and pushes it out, they change it in some way, which is
GTA Definitive.
Yeah, exactly.
I mean, there is, if you read the study, there is a bunch of stuff about like how do we decide what remains in print or not? Because like Yakuza Kiwami.
Yeah.
Very different to the original, but it's still ostensibly the same game, just been modernized. There are games that just aren't available anymore anyway because of licensing issues. So if you look at old movie tie-in games, can't buy any of the old Lord of the Rings stuff anymore. And even when stuff gets remade and remastered, changes are made. There are a lot of things going on with the GTA Definitive Edition, but one of the things that they had to change was the soundtrack.
Which is one of the most iconic parts of it. And it's not just as simple as, they just ripped out a couple of songs and it's fine. No, there's a specific mood and kind of like nostalgia to the specific songs that are there that is reflective of the time when it was released and we played it. So the version of GTA Vice City, for example, that people play now is fundamentally different because the songs have been changed or new things have been added or modernized and removed. And let's say from an academic perspective, you want to look at the evolution of games, having that version of the new version of GTA Vice City
while taking the original off Steam,
while making the original unavailable is changing history. Like it is causing inaccuracies. And I don't think like that is fair for our own medium. Like I don't understand this kind of like absolute disregard for and respect for our own medium and preserving it. Now this is something that we should all, as people who love video games, kind of come together and say like, we want the legacy of this industry to be properly represented because look how far we've come. Look at the amazing things we've achieved.
What are the options for people who want to go back and play those
old
games?
Ho, it's a pirate's life for me.
Pirate's life, or investing in, if you don't have your original consoles, it's like hunting down, going through the classic games retro games market, I go on eBay or I'll go on Amazon or Facebook Marketplace and buy an old console and hope that someone has a copy of the exact game that I wanted to play.
But then it also kind of like snowballs. Like you buy that old console, let's say you pick up a PlayStation 1 and you want to have the most authentic experience. You need to buy the old console, then you probably need a CRT TV, you need XYZ. It is pushing people to piracy. And like fundamentally, the double-edged sword of it is like, piracy obviously hurts the industry when it is like things are actively available now and new things, and I don't like seeing that happen because it takes money out of like developers' pockets. But if you give us no choice but to take the old stuff and pirate it, that's what I can't tell people not to do that because like I can't go out and buy Metal Gear Acid. I want to play Metal Gear Acid. I have to hunt that thing down. Why isn't it available? No one's buying it. No one's selling it. It's not preserved anywhere in any meaningful way. I mean, it is, but we all know how to get it. We have to hit up some websites that give you a lot of pop-ups. And like, if that's the only way you're going to do it, if I can do it now. All right.
The other reason why we're talking about this is because there are places, the Internet Archive, Video Game History Foundation, who are determined. And like, Danny O'Dwyer, former GameSpot, current NoClip, is going through this incredible process right now where he's digitizing all these old tapes for preservation purposes so that people can continue to enjoy them, because a lot of them were sat in a box in our
it was our
storage.
office, and we got that save that shit for him. Danny, take this.
But no, and so you have these places like archive.org is currently being sued. And so seriously read up on that because it's corporations trying to basically erase large chunks of online history. So if you can support,
please do support archive.org. It is more like important than you may realize.
Remember how people reacted around PT?
Every game is about to be a PT.
Pretty much.
And that is
it sounds hyperbolic, but honestly, in this all digital, I am part of the problem. I'm basically more digital now.
It's hard not to be.
It's hard not to be. It's convenient. It doesn't take up space in my apartment. But at the same time, if I wanted to go back and look for an original PS2 copy of Okami, it shouldn't be this difficult for me to do it.
A few years from now, we're not going to be able to experience the games that are coming out today because the practice now is you have half the game on the disc and the rest is downloaded. Like, So
I mean, you can't even download
Not
PT
even
anymore.
buying the physical version of the game
Yeah.
is a good guarantee that you will be able to play this game in the future, because there's significant chunks of those games that are just on servers and you need to be able to download them. So like, I don't understand why there's such a kind of contempt for preservation around games. And I think, like I said, we should be way more focused on this stuff.
So video game preservation should be at the top of every gamer's mind. We're going to keep reporting on this and looking into it and kind of calling out things as they move along. But yeah, let us know what you think. Go support the Video Game History Foundation. Go support archive.org. Go support Gerard in his video and Danny and all of his digitizing efforts. And anyone else you see like making the moves to...
bully some publishers. Just bully them. Just go on there and be like, why aren't you preserving this game? I give you
ask
permission.
politely.
Bully them.
Ask
That's
politely.
enough. Enough is enough. Bully these fools.
Do not bully nice community managers who have nothing.
That's true.
Yeah.
My bad. I take that back. I forgot.
Craft.
In my mind, I've just got people like tweeting at Bobby Kotick being like, you suck, man. Make this available again.
Kindly request the things.
Kindly request
Kindly
from
request.
community managers and PR people.
And they
But
can
if you
pass that on.
If you see Bobby Kotick on road, tell him to give you the stuff, give him the business.
There's a lot of things you can ask Bobby Kotick for. Anyway, thank you everyone for watching this week's episode of Spot On. We are not going to be doing an episode next week.
We're not?
We're at Comic-Con.
Oh.
So if you want to try and slot that into our schedules.
I'm good.
But we'll be back the week after. Let us know what you think about all the preservation stuff we talked about today. If there are any other cool resources you think we should check out, put them in the comments. You can find me on Twitter at LucyJamesGames.
I'm at Tamoor H.
We'll see you next time.
I did it again.
Yeah,
the
what are
three
you doing?
fingers.
What are you doing?